Hello and a warm welcome to the Sci-Fi and Fantasy edition of the incoming video podcast. This is episode 5, which looks back at the Sci-Fi and Fantasy miniature releases for week ending the 9th of October 2009, and I'm your host Neil Shuck. Now before we go any further, I have an apology to make. In the last show, I incorrectly attributed the Infinity releases in that show to Aberrant Games. That is of course completely wrong. Infinity is produced by Corvus Belli, so many apologies to Corvus Belli for that mistake. And thanks to those of you who pointed it out. Well, lots to get through, so on with the rest of the show. This week's top 10, number 10, we have new release from Reaper Miniatures. Interesting looking pair of these. This is a Darkspawn cultist and a minion. Looks like the Darkspawn cultist has a mini-me. I know there's just something about these that just appealed. It must be the tentacles. Number 9, and yes you saw right, Warlord Games. I was quite surprised by when I saw these this week. Warlord have gone into the realms of Weird War 2 in their bolt action range by producing a couple of figures. One is the ubiquitous SS Vampire that we all know and love so well, given the bolt action treatment. And to combat him we have an English character figure, Major Turn to Dust. Who thought up that name? Not something I was expecting to see from bolt action. An interesting addition. Number 8, we have a new range of figures on Blackout Miniatures. These are Sci-Fi Goblins. Full range of 5 packs here. A couple of ranges of troopers, close combat weapons, officers and heavy weapons. All with typical oversized weapons which emphasise how small the goblins really are. They look a little bit like mini orcs due to the facial features, which you probably associate more with their larger compatriots. A great little addition, I think these are. Hugely expressive faces, lots of fun, great figures. Number 7, we have a new release from Dark Age Miniatures. They've released a couple of new figures this week. This is my favourite, which is a Dragiri Death Device. Probably swayed a little bit by the colour palette, to be honest. I think this is just a really nice looking figure. I think I prefer some of the Outcast stuff that's coming up, but I do like this. Number 6, and a new name, Kingdom Death. New company, new figure. This is a Manhunter. Very reminiscent of the Witch Hunters from Warhammer. I think this is just a great looking sculpt, very evocative, and lots of detail. Given the number of skulls on it, it wouldn't look out of place on a Warhammer board, would it? But I think this is a company to keep your eyes on. It looks like they're producing some interesting stuff. Into the top 5, and another new name for me. This is Redbox Games. This is their new female warrior. Whilst it's not necessarily the most practical pose in the world, I just love the sculpting and detailing on this figure. Full plate armour and voluminous robes. It's begging for a really good paint job. Great stuff. Really, really impressed by this. Number 4, old friends at Hasslefree, and a preview of an upcoming figure in their Twilight range. This is a really interesting range as it's a unique fantasy genre. This is a Roban. As you can see, it's a large figure standing at 50mm tall, and that's when it's in their 3-point stance, so a large figure. But I just love this. The detailing is great, and the more I see of figures from Twilight, and the more I'm kind of itching to get involved with it. It looks to be a really good little gaming system. More from Hasslefree at number 4. This is a metal release of a 40mm character they released in resin some time ago, but obviously wasn't featured on the show then. This is a sci-fi assassin called Susie with the most impractical footwear you'll ever come across. It's a fantastically dynamic figure, and Kev White has done his usual wonderful job of sculpting females. It is a superb figure. The footwear I think is somewhat impractical, but suspended disbelief, and just enjoy the dynamics of this particular sculpt. Another new name for me at number 2, that's Kabuki Models, and these guys seem at the moment to be specialising in models which aren't necessarily work safe. This is Luna, who is an elf, actually classed as an erotic model, or according to the literature it is, which I think basically means is that for other than the boots, she's pretty much naked. I think this is a really interesting looking sculpt. I'm assuming that the base is included in the model, and if so, I think this is a really good looking model. Nice anatomy, well sculpted. The only thing that might be against it is that the ears look a little bit big. That's if you ever look at them, I suppose. On to number 1, and it's back to our friends at Hasslefree. And if there is one thing that Kev White does almost better than anybody else, it's sculpt dwarves. These are the sci-fi variety, and this week sees a release of 3 new Grim. We've got a couple of light infantry here, one pulling a grenade. We've got light infantry officer, and then the best of the lot, we've got finally the release of the Grim pilot, which is simply an awesome little sculpt. Even got a choice of hands, so you can either have him here smoking a pipe, giving the thumbs up, or drinking a cuppa, and complete with faithful companion, reminiscent of Wing Commander Guy Gibson himself. Simply awesome stuff from Kev. Fantastic. Well, that's my top 10, but there's been a metric shed-load of new releases this week. So here's the roundup of all the other sci-fi and fantasy models that you may have missed. And there you have it, a huge number of releases this week. And once again, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Bill at the Miniatures page and Zach at Tabletop Gaming News. Without these guys' hard work and effort, this podcast simply would not be possible. And remember, if you've missed any of these podcasts, you can always catch them again at Warboots UK TV, where you can find all the incoming videos streaming at the bottom of the page at some time in the day. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. There'll be no incoming for the next couple of weeks as I'm away off on holiday to the Isle of Skye. It's a fantastic place, really looking forward to that. So expect to see the next edition of incoming around about the 30th of October. So up until then, thanks for watching, happy gaming, I'll see you soon. Bye.